Well, good afternoon, everybody. So this session, Procuring Security Responsibly, marks the launch of the draft Buyers Charter and shares the latest work of the Buyers Special Interest Group. This is an important moment for our sector. The Charter has been developed by buyers, for buyers, and endorsed by the SIA to help raise standards, improve understanding of quality, security, and ultimately strengthen public protection. And as we meet here in Manchester, it feels right to pause for a moment. This is a city that knows, more than most, that security matters. So let me start with a challenge to all of us. If one mother from this city, driven by loss, courage, and determination, can change the face of the security across our country, then what more could we in this room achieve together? Because the context is clear, the security landscape is becoming more complex, public expectations are increasing, and with Martyn's Law coming into force, the bar for preparedness and accountability is rising significantly. In that environment, procurement is no longer just a commercial activity. It is a frontline decision that directly impacts safety, resilience, compliance, and reputation. Today's discussion will explore why responsible procurement is so critical, how our approach needs to evolve, and what good looks like in practice, from ethical accountability and provider selection through to stronger collaboration across the sector. Importantly, this is about practical outcomes. The aim is that you leave with clear insight into how to strengthen compliance, reduce risk, and safeguard your organisation through more robust procurement strategies. The Buyers Charter provides a framework to support exactly that, promoting informed, transparent, and responsible security purchasing. So this is both a conversation and a call to action for all of us as buyers and leaders to play our part in raising standards across the industry. So with that, let me turn to our panel. Sarah Jane, as co-chair of the SIA Buyers Special Interest Group, what has been the driving force behind the creation of the Buyers SIG, and what outcomes are you hoping to achieve?
Thank you, Nigel. So firstly, Jane King and I feel so proud to have been asked to pull this piece of work together and actually delivered in the timescales that were set to us. This is a pivotal moment for the industry because far too long there's been a gap between the buyer's need and what the industry delivers. It's been bridged by individual effort rather than collective standards. I've been fortunate to be at both sides of the fence. I've been buying of security for 20 years and probably supplier side more 6 to 8 years. So it's given me that real reach into actually the gap between both and being able to advise on the charter. But bringing together the Security Industry Authority and security buyers in this collaboration, we've been able to create something genuinely transformational. So what is it? The Charter. It's a practical toolkit that sets expectations, compliance accessible and achievable, because those were really key things for us to make sure that actually it's going to be utilised. So the buyers who contributed to the Charter development emphasised the importance of industry-wide buy-in through informal consultation, which will be shared via a QR code later today. So today is the launch of the Charter, which we're delighted to be able to share with you later. So when the Security Industry Authority supports a buyer-led initiative like this, it sends a powerful message. It says that professional standards aren't just about providers committing to. They're about what buyers can expect, demand, and verify. This collaboration legitimises the buyer's voice in shaping the future security services and procured, delivered. That's long overdue, I think you would all agree. So the Charter work has been an inclusive approach with engagement across different sectors. So we pulled together different sectors of the buyers, and that's what formed the actual buyers group. With this engagement, we've obviously utilised those sectors. The voice of the buyers. It's been built on partnership, not prescription. So buyers will gain a clear framework on compliance and quality assurance. The providers gain a clarity on expectations and a level playing field. and the industry as a whole gains credibility. The aim is for the buyers to sign the charter, not to tick a box. They're actively driving professional standards that protect people, premises, and reputations. This is the responsible buyer procurement our sector needs, and we're proud to see the SIA champion it alongside the buyers who will use it every day. It shows how committed the buyers have been by volunteering their time monthly and creating this within 6 months, ready for industry feedback and launch in October, November this year.
Thanks, Jane. So Michelle, as COO of the SIA, what role should buyers play in driving continuous improvement and accountability across the security sector?
Thanks, Nigel. Well, the first thing I want to say is this is not just about security. It actually benefits buyers of security themselves, the people that work for you in those premises, your service, and also your reputation. So it's bridging both security and buying community, and it really matters. So how you choose, how you contract, and how you purchase really matters. So for me, there's 3 things that run across the work that the group have done, for which we're really grateful. The first one is about being curious and doing proper due diligence about the firms that you're tendering for or that you're contracting with. The second one is about clarity of knowing what you're contracting for and understanding it. So for example, are you happy that it's subcontracted work, or it might be subcontracted and subcontracted work? And then thirdly, it's also about this being a joint investment. So when you see the draft charter, one of the things that I was really drawn to, as well as promises about price, that price isn't the only denominator that's looked at, it's things like welfare of the security officer, the investment in the training, and actually asking for transparency about how much investment the firms put into the training. So all of those themes together, and I'm sure it will come out in the further discussion about what other things there are, together that embodies some of the principles about what good buying of security is. And if this draft that is being launched today for feedback, when that does get launched, if that pledge for those responsible buyers of security can step forward and give credit to those buyers that are out there that do that, but also think of the power that that can have in pulling up others who are not in that space at the minute. So I'm really excited, and I think it's brilliant.
Sean, as you yourself are a buyer of security for the Home Office, what are you doing as Director of National Security at the Home Office to promote responsible buying of security in the public sector?
Thanks, Nigel. Well, first of all, I absolutely endorse everything that's just been said and some of the things that we hope that the Buyers' Charter will achieve. I mean, I buy security, I buy guarding security, I buy some technology, I buy physical mitigations. I have the responsibility to protect the UK places and people from national security attacks. And when I'm buying with state-funded money, so paid for by you, the taxpayers, I accept that risk. And as a buyer, you need to acknowledge that you're taking on a risk. And the only way you're going to mitigate that risk is to buy the right security solution. And that is a solution that yes, you do need to be curious about, but you can't buy it and walk away. You have to constantly be on top of that security solution you've got. So some of you who are suppliers for me will know, even the smallest thing I get interested in, why didn't that alarm work? Why didn't that vehicle access not work? Why wasn't there a guard at this place at this time? What's happening here? What is your operating model? Are you subcontracting that? These are questions that you constantly have to keep asking as a buyer, because you own the risk for the protection of the public. And it's really important that you accept that risk, don't buy the cheapest, buy the right solution. And you know, forgive me, I know you mentioned it, Nigel, and others in the room will have been affected by it, but I was the government witness for the Manchester Arena attack. And if you looked at the Manchester Arena, it ticked all the boxes. It had security, had CCTV, it had all the mitigations, but none of it was working how it should do. There was no interoperability. There was no briefings before. There was no communications. So it isn't just about buying the right security, it's making sure that that operating model is effective all the way through the contract.
Mike, as Chief Executive of the BSIA, what are the risks and consequences when businesses fail to act ethically or neglect public protection in their procurement decisions?
Thanks, Nigel. Good afternoon, everybody. From the most extreme consequences, sadly, would be the potential multiple loss of life if you aren't procuring the right level of security. I think the next bit, if you then link into that would move on to potential corporate manslaughter allegations. You then move into the element of reputational damage for the organisation and those linked to it. And then the final piece of it would be potentially loss of revenue and existing customers and potentially future customers. I think the reality of procuring security is not like buying a widget A that you can source from multiple locations. And by the nature of procurement departments, they are incentivized and encouraged to secure the lowest price. Buying security should never be pursued on securing the lowest price. It's highly dependent on the risk environment that it's looking to protect. And what the Buyer's Charter will provide is a level of education, structure, and discipline for buyers to approach the procurement of security in the right way on a consistent manner.
Thanks, Mike. And John, as a major buyer of security, how does selecting the right security provider influence not only operational outcomes, but also public trust and safety?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good people are foundational to good security, and in his opening address, our key speaker mentioned about the entry level of threats and also how our people can be the best defence against threats. The Security Buyers Charter puts people first through well-being, fair pay, safe working conditions, inclusive practice, and career development being core expectations of security procurement rather than being optional extras. So selecting the right security provider, when using the framework set out in the Charter, demonstrates a meaningful metric against operational performance, public trust, and safety outcomes. So if you get the right security provider, they will drive security effectiveness. Capable, well-managed providers will deliver reliable incident response, clear accountability, and measurable performance against SLAs underpinned by strong KPIs, response times, incident handling, compliance. And together, these strengthen the day-to-day security outcomes and resilience. They'll also reduce risk and build confidence and strengthen preparedness. Again, robust selection ensures that we deliver well-trained personnel, clear command structures, and integration with partners working well together that prepare us better in readiness and response to critical incidents. On top of that, it builds public trust and confidence, ethical practice, visible professionalism, and a compliance with legal and social standards reinforces confidence in security provision, and that enhances reputational integrity. The right provider will also enhance public safety and community outcomes. A collaborative, community-focused partner will support crime prevention. They'll work effectively with authorities, and they will contribute to building safer spaces for our customers, our staff, and the wider public. So selecting the right security provider is a critical point, which not only demonstrates how effective security provision is delivered, but also how it's perceived by the public. High-quality providers will deliver competent, accountable, and resilient services that protect people and assets. Ethical practice, transparency, and community engagement will develop public support and confidence. Conversely, poor selection will create operational failures, increase risk, and erode that confidence and public safety. So going back to the people bit, invest in our teams, and that's what the Charter wants us to do. Better training, better well-being, better pay. It engenders a better team who look after our businesses better, look after our customers, our staff, and the wider public. But it might also just get that buy-in that changes or pivots that entry-level threat to be our best defense against that threat vector later.
Thanks, John. And Sarah Jane, coming back to you, how can collaboration between buyers, regulators and providers raise standards across the industry?
So this isn't about working in silos, this is about us working together. And the opportunity today, when you see the QR code come up later, this is about us all going on this journey together and providing the feedback to the Charter, because this is something we should all feel proud of in the future. But if I covered this off in two pieces, when I talk about partnership over prescription, that's about a collaborative toolkit with the development, with the input from the stakeholders, which is you, it's the people in the room, it's the people that work for you, it's about sharing this as far and wide as we possibly can. And the outcome should be systematic change. You know, buyers procure more responsibly, providers deliver to clarity and high standards, the regulator supports the framework, and together we further professionalise the industry. That would be the aim.
Thank you. And Michelle, how can the Buyers Charter help embed a culture of responsibility and transparency in procurement practices?
In some respects, Nigel, I think it's quite an easy question, because making the pledge to stand forward, stand with your head held high as a responsible buyer of security, actually is about changing that culture and that transparency. But for me, when you see the Charter and the work that the team have done, which has not been led by the SIA, it has been led by buyers, things like welfare and health and safety coming as a priority, training investment. Are you promoting and inquiring about career pathways for those who are doing your work? The supply chain resilience, how much do you know about subcontracting or wanting? The pricing transparency, the commitment, as I believe it, to only considering on living wage. That would be a big thing for all of those to step forward and looking at added value. So for me, the one thing you can do is to participate and put your heads and signatures forward, and initially the comments back, because we want to get it right. So the good amount of work has been done, but your team want feedback on what's missing, does it work?
Thank you. And Sean, this is something that I know you're very passionate about. I wrote this question, so that's why I wanted you to answer it. So, the government say it's keen to support innovation and growth, especially for small businesses. How do we support economic growth for SMEs and collectively encourage procurement processes not just select the cheapest, which may well be the biggest companies due to economies of scale, or those who cut corners to sell cheap services?
Well, I've been fortunate over the last year in taking this role on of visiting security companies up and down the country, small, medium and large. And there is a place for large security companies, especially on the scale of certain contracts, but there is absolutely a place for small companies. And some of the service that small companies deliver locally are fantastic. And I've seen the integration between local security guards and some of the people they work with, especially in local authorities, where they're combining to deliver an outward presence of assuredness and security. And there should be no way that we should be, as a government, forcing down the route of larger companies. There is a place for small and local, and there's a place for large scale as well. I would also add that I've seen different models in different places of different types of security. And I think the government here in England and Wales has a long way to go yet, especially when the Buyers' Charter comes out, to try and promote that and push that. You go to Scotland, and Scotland delivered a policy 8 years ago where all security bought by government or public authorities would only be for ACS companies. We are way behind that, and that's where we want to be. That's the starting point we want to be at for for England and Wales, but we've got a lot of work to do yet.
Thank you. Mike, how can buyers identify and avoid providers who cut corners or fail to meet professional and ethical standards?
I mean, that's a challenging question. I think that one of the examples is, if you want to know what somebody does in the future, what they're going to do, is have a look at what they did in the past. Because I think you have to assess them on the criteria that you set, and also do some validity testing. Because as I said earlier, the Buyers' Charter will provide a framework and structure, and I believe a level of education and guidance for buyers to drill beyond just the initial price quoted. As we said, you referenced it earlier, Nigel, is that rather than the lowest price, security is a personal thing, it's a unique thing to each business, relevant to the risk that they're trying to actually mitigate. And having a consistent approach in assessing the people who are tending for that work can be only a good thing in creating safety for those people in that environment and the general public, for the buyer and the organisation they're operating for, and fundamentally for the service provider. Because there's clear criteria on what you are bidding for and what is required beyond just the price.
Smashing, that's great. I think, bearing in mind the time, John, if we can start with you, this is not going to be the question that you think's coming in relation to it. So, 30 seconds for all of you. What one action would each of you encourage buyers to one action would each of you encourage buyers to take immediately to ensure that they are procuring responsibly and ethically?
Understand the difference between cost and value. That's all I'd say.
Sean?
Acknowledge and accept that you're taking on a risk, and therefore don't cut corners, don't let someone else do it, don't do the easiest and cheapest way.
Mike?
Procure your service based on the risk of your environment rather than just a pound sign.
Michelle?
I'd go a bit sharper than Mike. I'd go, do not appoint on cost alone, full stop.
And Sarah Jane?
Well, I'm glad you came to me last, because I think today is a massive opportunity for everyone to go on this journey with us. So the QR code should be coming up shortly. Scan it, share it with all of your providers and the buyers. Come on this journey together. This is your opportunity to shape the future. So take it away and do it.
So let me sum up. So the challenge and the responsibility for all of us is unmistakably clear. Engage properly with the informal consultation, not as a tick box exercise, but as an opportunity to shape the future of our profession. Adopt the Buyers' Charter, not in principle, but in practice, embedding it into how decisions are made every single day. Challenge poor practice wherever you see it, because choosing to ignore it is in itself a decision. Move beyond cost-driven procurement, because the cheapest option can, and too often, does come at the highest price in risk and consequences. And lead from the front, setting the expectation that security is about public protection, not just a commercial negotiation. Because ultimately, this is not a process, and it is not about policy. It is about people. And if Manchester has taught us anything, it is this: when security fails, the consequences are permanent. So let me leave you with this, not as a suggestion, but as a second challenge. When you walk out of this room, will you go back to buying security the way you always have, or will you take responsibility for raising the standard? It is a choice. It is a risk. The question is simple: what choice will you make? Thank you, and thank you very much to the panel if you'd like to show your appreciation.